Thank you for staying with us. If you just joined us, you're watching Channels Beam on Channels Television, and we're discussing the African Union's decision to name President Muhammadu Buhari as their champion for anti-corruption. But I have with me in the studio Femi Ajasa. Femi, just before we went on that break,
Yes.
Kazim was actually talking about, the form at which anti-corruption has taken place, in Nigeria. But would you say no form of progress has been made?
There are progresses made so far. If you look at the billions recovered from, from corrupt officials of the past administration, then of course you give it to them, of course. But you still notice some, shoddy, arrangements in terms of, prosecution.
Arrest.
Then of course we don't have clear information of what they want to do with the money. Nobody have the real figures. That's
Well, yeah, because
you
I know
cannot
there was
take
a
away.
time they were challenging the EFCC to declare, to make a
Nothing
declaration
concrete.
on all it has
Nothing
seized.
concrete was made known to the public on that. Nothing concrete.
Well, let's wait and see how that will play out. But let me come back to you. Are you saying that the AU rules and regulations are not binding on other African countries, or member states?
How does it bind? How does it bind when it comes to fighting corruption? How does it bind? It takes more than two to tango.
Yeah,
How
but
does it bind?
fighting corruption is just the same as maybe trade, trade relations, and other any of
Yeah,
those things they decide that should be done in in the
yeah.
continent.
In that case, yeah. In fact, for this statement, I want to do off my heart. Yes, if A is coming in from the angle of foreign trade, like across the borders, corruption is reduced to the minimum across the borders. Trade between two or more countries, fine. But it will be difficult for the AU to fight corruption in African countries. It's so difficult selectively.
All right, very well, Kazim. Let's
So
hope that let's hope that it will be easier, rather than it being difficult. Because I mean, like I said earlier on, the African continent loses about $50 billion through illicit financial flow. But Femi, let me come back to you now. Let's look at this, because what he was saying that it is beyond the president doing it alone, and he's saying there are issues. The AU is not really binding on African countries and all of that. But in wrapping up this conversation now, do you think this will happen?
Uh, I think moving forward, if truthfully what we want to do is fight corruption, now that a champion has been appointed, all we need to do is support him. We cannot throw away the individual will of President Muhammadu Buhari when it comes to fighting corruption. Then his integrity too, that is still strong. And if we give him the support, who knows? All we need here is develop a framework, trusted framework across the states, and we might be thankful at the end of the day.
So apart from framework, what kind of support can we also give? What kind of support would you advise Africans give their presidents and, by extension, President Muhammadu Buhari?
I think there's little we can do individually, but support could be in terms of criticism at that level. Criticism, we ought to be sincere, with the way things are going, and just give him a chance, because he has been appointed. I don't think they can take him out of this. And don't forget, politically, this might be sound for the fact that Nigeria is big and we can, of course, support fund-wise.
All right, let's wait and see how that will play out. But Thank you for joining us on the program today. Femi Ajasa, you're the online editor of the News Guru. And also, Bid Chikwuekezie, thank you for joining us. You joined us from London. Thanks for joining us on the program. And also, Kazim Sulaiman, who joined us from Lagos, Nigeria. Thanks to you guys for being with us on the program today. But that's where we'll wrap it up on this part of the program. We'll take a break. I'll be back with the most viewed videos on our YouTube channel in the past week. Please stay with us.
I did not see INEC between now to the election because there is a time frame within which INEC can register election.
This week's most viewed video begins with a comment by a lawyer on the coalition formed by former President Olusegun Obasanjo.
Force, particularly in the political party, the likes of Obasanjo and the rest cannot deny the fact that they have their own agenda, cannot define that since November, they've been calling some of us to come together to have a coalition. And the first question some of us have been asking her is this: who are those that will champion this? If it's going to be the men of yesteryears that have caused all the problem we are today, then I believe it is more like some people are still pursuing an agenda which is well known to them.
I have friends east, west, and north of this country.
Up next in fourth position is Channels TV exclusive interview with former running mate of President Muhammadu Buhari during the 2011 elections, Pastor Pt.3.
If Nigeria breaks, you paralyze West Africa. I'd never advocated that, and I will never advocate it.
But we sit to the table and ask for renegotiation. The issue of going our different ways might come. Are you afraid of that?
Not afraid of it, but I would rather we do not get there. But if it gets there, God forbid, whoever is responsible for it will go down history as a person who destroy what could have been better handled.
Before now,
third spot is taken by the reaction of former media aide to former President Goodluck Jonathan, Reuben Abati, to the letter written to President Buhari by former President Obasanjo on the state of the nation.
Of the administration so far. If you look at that letter, it drips with frustration, it drips with disappointment, even regret. The only thing that President Obasanjo does not do in that letter is to apologize to Nigerians.
You knew what you were going to, even if you didn't know all of it.
Pastor Bakare again features in the charts, this time in second place. Here, he speaks about the expectations he had from the government led by President Muhammadu Buhari.
I do not know whether to believe the theory of a cabal or the wicked around the throne of the righteous, because he alone cannot deliver all these things. A tree does not make a forest, but leadership determines what happens, because everything falls or rises on leadership. The type of leader you are will determine the type of people you attract to yourself.
And the first spot is taken by a report by Channels Television put together after former President Olusegun Obasanjo had written President Muhammadu Buhari asking him not to recontest the 2019 presidential elections.
Well, there you go. Those were the most viewed videos on our YouTube channel in the past week. And that's where we wrap the program up. Let's continue via the social media addresses showing on your screen. I'm Victor Matthias. Bye for now.